broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for coming today. Looks like we had a lot of people sign up, about double the number of signups for this webinar than any we had last summer. So that's exciting to see. DanceWorks Online has grown a lot in the last year, particularly in the last 4 to 5 months. And we are really excited to have everyone join us. With that being said, I want to just jump into this. Let me just give you a little bit of background on the way we're going to do this. If you didn't read all of the emails that went out, I'm going to do a short presentation, probably 20 to 30 minutes, and then we will follow that up with a question answer session. I typed it into the chat box, but in case you didn't miss that, you should be able to hear me right now, but I will not be able to hear any of you. If you have a question, when we do the question and answer session, you can use your chat box there to just send it to me. I'll read it out loud for everyone to hear and answer it to as best I can. Honestly, I find a lot with the webinars last year, I found that really the question and answer session, I think, helped people more than necessarily my presentations, which I'm not sure what that says. But I think it's good for you guys to hear what other studios are asking and the types of questions that they have that may give you ideas for things that you can do in your studio, and so on. So let's go ahead and get started. This particular webinar, as it said in the email, is going to be on the settings. We're going to kind of start at the very beginning of DanceWorks, where I would always suggest new customers start and work our way through it. So it's going to be very basic here at the beginning. I looked at the list of attendees today and I saw a lot of new names. Didn't see a lot of people who've been with us a while, so I'm guessing most of you are fairly new with either Akeda or with DanceWorks Online. So I think you will find this helpful. So let's go ahead and get going. Okay, so to get to your settings menu, you're going to go to the admin menu here on the screen. Let me actually click onto my. You're going to go to settings. On this admin menu, you have settings, you have your session management, where you'll do any work with your sessions. You can send email. You'll use your transfer to QuickBooks here. If you want to use school statistics or view your school statistics, you'll come here. Want to run a daily payment report, a report of all the payments you took in on a business day. If you need to import data, so if you're coming maybe from another program to DanceWorks for the first time and you want to import your basic contact information, you can do that there. You have your clear school data screen, which will allow you to clear out bits of information like transactions. If you wanted to clear out accounts, you can do that. You would be able to do that from this screen. Just be aware that anything you delete from this screen is gone and cannot be retrieved. And then you also have your My Account. This is where you guys can update your information with us. So the account information that for your account with Akeda. If you want to change your studio name or contact information, you can do that here. You can also should be able to update your credit card information here as well. So if you have a card if you lose a card and replace it, or have a card that's expiring, the card that we charge you on each month, you can come here and replace it before we charge you. So just be aware of that. But the main thing are going to be these settings. There are obviously quite a few settings pages here. Some of them we will get more in depth with in a future webinar. Tuition and the customer access settings, for example. Those two pages can get a little bit overwhelming, and to try to get them all in today, I think would just blow everyone's mind. So we'll do a future webinar. In fact, next week we'll go over the customer access settings, and then maybe the week after that we'll do the tuition. So I'll probably just kind of gloss over those as we come to them and not spend a whole lot of time on them. So let's go ahead and get started with the settings. This first settings page, your school information. This is just your basic school contact information. Name of the studio, the address, phone numbers, email address. If you guys need to use your tax ID in here, you certainly can. I think that's going to apply more to Canadian customers, not necessarily the US customers. But if you wanted to put it in there, you certainly could. Whatever's here is what's going to show up as the contact information when you print out reports, like a statement or any other type of report that includes the address. This is where it's pulling that from. The name of your studio that appears at the top of the screen is also right here. So if you wanted to change that for some reason, maybe you added a second studio and you want to put the location name behind it to keep people straight, all you got to do is type it right there and hit save. All right, so moving on. That's a pretty basic page. So moving on to report notes. So these report notes, whatever is in these fields is what's going to appear at the bottom of that particular report when you print it out. So if you want to have a particular note that always shows up on your statement, if you want to put in your payment terms should show up on your receipts. If you want to have a return policy or a note at the bottom of your confirmation report, registration note, receipt note. So if you whatever you want to show up at the bottom of your receipt, thank you for purchasing something at such and such studio. This is where you would do it. Now, when you actually go to print those particular reports, let's say you want to print an individual statement, you will have the opportunity to type right over this for that one individual or handful of individuals. So if you want to customize their statement just for them or put a note that's specific to them on their statement, when you get ready to print that one statement, you can just type right over it or email it. But this will stay here. So if you want to use this, something that's you're going to use all the time, you can just type it here and then be done with it, and it'll show up on all of the whatever the particular report is. So, example, this one would be your statements. I'm going to jump over email setup and go to email notes, and then I'll come back. Email notes are very similar to the report notes, except for the email note is basically the body of the email. So you have a confirmation, registration, receipt, statement. Just like the statement note, or just like the report notes, this works the exact same way, except this shows up as the body of the email. So if you go to email people their statements, whatever is in this field is what they're going to see as the body of that email. A lot of people kind of get confused between the two, between report and email notes, and that is the difference. So again, just like the report notes, you can always type right over this when you get ready to send that email. So if you need to customize an email, or you're just sending it to one person, or it's a really good friend of yours and you want to send them a special note in their email, all you got to do is when you get ready to send it on that screen, type right over it. This won't go anywhere. The next time you get ready to send one, it'll still be there. Once you make any changes on this page, and as well as the report notes page, if I didn't say it, be sure to hit save changes at the bottom. Otherwise, when you leave the page, you'll lose that information. Okay, now going back to email setup. I would say probably 60% of the phone calls that we receive here in the office revolve around this screen and emails and sending emails. So let me just give you guys a little background for those who may or may not know about the way email works through DanceWorks, and really through any third-party program that you're using to send email. So basically, DanceWorks works the exact same way as sending an email through your cell phone, through Outlook, whatever that program you're using to send an email that's not your actual email provider's account. We use these settings that you put into the program. So the email address, the outgoing SMTP server, the username, email password, outgoing port number, and this group size. We use these settings to connect to your email provider's server. Once we connect to their server, we pass off the message that you're trying to send to your customers. They accept it from us. When they accept that message, we disconnect from their server and we pop up the message saying email sent successfully. Your email provider still actually does the sending. We get a lot of questions. Hey, why is so-and-so not receiving the email? It says it's sent, they're not getting it. If it's telling you that the email's been sent, but you have a customer or a handful of customers who aren't getting it, that's on their end. There's not, unfortunately, anything you can do about that. Their email provider is either blocking it or it's going into their spam folder or something along those lines. But if it tells you email sent successfully, there's unfortunately not a whole lot of you can do to prevent a handful of people from getting it. So these settings, doesn't matter who your email provider is. Typically, you can Google these settings. So just put in your email provider and maybe SMTP server settings or outgoing mail email settings, and you'll usually find it. If you can't find it through Google, contact them directly. They should be able to give them to you. It's going to be pretty much the same format for everyone. This is going to be your email address, obviously. This is where you're going to put the outgoing SMTP server setting. So we have a lot of people using Gmail. It's simply smtp.gmail.com. This is the email username. For a lot of email providers, it's just the email address again. Sometimes it's the everything before the @ symbol. So that's fairly common. Those are usually about the only two email usernames formats. This one we get a lot of people messing up on. This is your email account password. This is not the password you use to log into DanceWorks. So whatever the password is to your email account is what you need to put right here. The issue we run into with a lot here is we'll get calls. Hey, suddenly it's telling me my password's wrong. It's most 9 times out of 10, it's because that person changed their email password and never updated it in DanceWorks. So if you ever change your password to your email account, if maybe you got some sort of a warning telling you you've been hacked and you need to change it, be sure you come into DanceWorks and change it here as well, or you'll get an error. Then finally, the biggest other thing on here is your outgoing port number. There's typically only about 3 that get used a lot. They would be the number 25, the number 465, and the number 587. Those are the 3 most common. Don't see a whole lot of others. Maybe 1 out of 100 might be different than that. On this page, if you want to get copies of your emails, make sure you select it here, and whatever email address you put here is where they'll go. This is your email signature. So when you get ready to send an email, whatever is here will show up as the signature of that email. The last setting thing on this page is this email group size. Now, I don't know why this one happens to be set to 2, but basically when you're sending a large email, let's say maybe to a group of 300 people, what this group size does is instead of sending one email to 300 people, it breaks it down. So what will happen is we'll connect to your server, your email provider server. We'll pass off the message as to the first 20 recipients in this case, disconnect, reconnect, pass off the next 20, and keeps doing that until all the recipients have been handed off. This does not affect the way you send an email. It doesn't change anything you do when you're getting ready to send an email. You load as many names and addresses in there as you need to. What breaking it down into smaller groups does is help your email prevent it from getting flagged for spam. If you try to send it to 300, half these email providers, these free email providers like Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, they're going to see that it's going to 300 people and they're going to say, nope, this is spam, not letting it through. So when you break it down into smaller groups using the group size, that helps prevent against that. Now, the other catch is you can make this group size too small. If you make it too small, we end up having to connect to your email provider server so many times that they end up blocking us because it's taking too long. To me, 20, 25 are probably your best bet. I think the program comes defaulted at 50. Like when you get it, it's going to be set to 50. I find that 20, 25, 30, that's probably your best bet. Once you've got all your settings in, you can hit the test settings button. It will send a test email. If the email is working correctly, if your settings are correct, you will get this message, email sent successfully. You should also see an email in this inbox. Once it says successful, hit save. If you get an error back, that means there's a setting that's incorrect somewhere. So you may just need to double check all of the settings, make sure you typed everything correctly. I've had that, spent 20 minutes with someone and realized that they had the A and the I backwards in Gmail. Gmail, let me get this one out there. If it's your first time setting it up, they like to send you a message that says that your password is incorrect, and you'll look at it and you'll swear it's right, and it will be. A lot of times what Gmail does is when you try to when we try to connect that first time, they think someone's trying to hack your email account. They will send you an email in your Gmail in your inbox telling you that someone's trying to hack your account. It will give you some steps to take. It will basically allow you to tell them, yes, this is okay, this was me. They'll give you a couple more steps, and then you just log back into DanceWorks, try to send it again, and it'll let it through. So if you're setting up a Gmail account for the first time and you get that error, go look, keep DanceWorks open a different tab in your web browser, log into your Gmail account, and check for that alert. It's been happening. This really started probably about 2 months ago, and we're seeing it more and more. It's becoming fairly common, and it takes 2 minutes to fix it. You just got to be aware of it. So again, if you're using Gmail, watch out for that. Okay, so we'll jump ahead. We've already done our email notes, so let's move down to our school defaults. All right, school defaults. You have quite a few things on this page. A lot of these we're not actually seeing people use a whole lot anymore. In fact, one of these I'm going to advise against using, so I'll get to that in just a minute. All right, so registration charge setup. What this allows you to do is set up a default registration charge based on the number of students an account has enrolled. What you want to do is enter in the number for the total for that number of students. So in this case, and I may not have worded that correctly, but it'll make sense here in just a minute. So in this case, if they had one student, their charge would be $10. If they had two students, their registration fee would be $20. Three students would be $25, $30, $35, and $40. So you just need to make sure that they add up to the total you want for that number of students. Once you have these entered in, you hit the registration button on the customer's account or on the process registration page, and it'll automatically calculate the correct registration fee for you. Makes it really easy, makes it one button rather than having to choose it from like a list of charge codes. This tuition discount method, this is actually an older method of using discounts that came over from the desktop program. I would not suggest using this any longer. I imagine we're probably going to phase it out, but we do have one or two customers, maybe a few more, that are still using it this way, and we want to give them time to get used to something else before we take it away. So I'm just going to tell you not to use that. Late fee. This is just a default late fee that you can set up. I actually don't see a lot of you guys doing late fees anymore, but I don't talk to everyone. But if you do want to use one, you can set it up as a percent. You just type in whatever percentage you want. If you uncheck this box, it turns it into a dollar amount, and you can just whatever dollar amount you want. So if you just charge a $25 late fee, just type in 25 and you're good to go. When you hit the late fee button on an account, it'll automatically default to 25. So that's fairly easy. All right, this next one, the display account / student totals. Some studios are picky about this, some are not. Let me show you something. I'm going to jump back and then I'll come back. I want to show you something. So at the bottom of your account list, you'll see this total, 19 accounts in our little test school here. $16 students in this test school. A lot of studios don't want that. They don't want that total to be there. I think we were asked to put this in. It got put in the desktop and carried over to the online program a long time ago. I believe the fear from the studios was they would have a parent standing there at their desk while they're entering a payment or something, and they'd hit that screen, and the parent would look at it and say, you know what? They have 250 accounts. I'm paying $1,000 a month. this studio is bringing in $250,000 a month, and I believe that was the fear. So if you don't want that total being seen, all you got to do is check that box and you're good to go. Some don't want their employees to see it either. So that would be another reason. So very simple to hide that number if you want to. The next is your statement type. This is basically the default format for your statements for customers. You can either do all charges and payments, only the open charges and payments, meaning only the charges that have not, or payments that haven't been paid in full, or you can do just the open charges, so your customer wouldn't see their payments on their actual statement. You can do a running or an item balance. I think most people prefer the running. And then if you check this box, obviously their students or their children's names will be included on the statement. If you use a receipt printer, this is where, or when you go to print receipts, you want to make sure you have this selected properly. If you just use a standard printer with 8x11 paper for your receipts, then you'll want to do 80 column. If you do the little spool type receipt printer, the true receipt printer, then you'll choose 40. Again, I'll harp on this all day. After you've entered all your changes on these settings pages, make sure you hit save at the bottom. Okay, simple enough. All right, moving on to discounts. And this is why I recommended not using that other discounts page. We put this discounts page in probably 8-9 months ago, maybe a year ago. I don't think it's been quite that long. But this basically allows you to create any type of discount that you want to create and choose exactly what it is applied to. So if you wanted to create a discount, doesn't matter what it is, you just hit add new discount, type in your description. I'm going to say tuition discount. You can tell it the type of charges you want to apply it to. So you can do any charge, tuition, miscellaneous, registration, costume, late charge. And so I'm just going to choose costume. You can choose a percentage or dollar amount, whichever you prefer. And you can also tell it that it can't be changed from the account or the student screen. If you don't check this box, that means when the discount when you actually attach it to someone's account or to a student, it could be changed at that point. So if you wanted to set one up that's kind of flexible, you could not even put in an amount or a percentage and leave this box unchecked. And then as you get ready to use it, you can change it as you're using it. Not sure why you would want to do that, but it's certainly an option. So I'm going to check the box saying it can't be changed. Just hit add discount. Simply adds it. Well, we have a duplicate here, so I'm going to say add anyway. Simply adds it to your list. So this list and a lot of these default pages are actually how you control the different drop-down menus in the program. So I'm going to go to an account. We'll go to Arthur Anderson. And I can add that discount right here. Here are my different discounts. These are actually the discounts that are applied to this particular account. So we've obviously tested this a few times on this one. Here's my tuition discount. And now I've attached it. That's all you have to do. Now, here's the catch. This is what you got to be aware of with these discounts. If you add it on the account page, it applies to everyone on that account. So if you're doing some sort of sibling discount, you might be better off actually adding it to the students. So if we're doing, maybe you're doing like a second student discount where you only give the discount on the second student, you would just go to that particular student's page and come right here and you would apply that same discount. Okay. So if you apply it to the student, that discount only applies to that particular student. If you apply it to the account, it applies to everyone on that account. All right, I'm going to go back to my settings. And that pretty much, the discounts are pretty straightforward. Again, you can customize these basically however you want, whatever works for your studio. Okay, account defaults. Uh-oh, that's not good. Let's try that again. Oh, good. Okay, let me come back to that. Student defaults. On the student page, you have different drop downs. This is where you control the drop downs. So on the student page, there's going to be a school list, a drop down for the school. There's going to be a drop down for skills, a drop down for the doctor. There's also a student account fee table. Any of those drop downs, this is where you actually fill in what's in that drop down menu. So if you wanted it to, if you needed to add a school, you would just come here, hit add. It's very straightforward. Type in the school name, hit save, and now it's in the drop down menu. When you go to that student, you can just select it from the drop down. Same with the skills list, same with the doctor list, and then the same with the student account fee table. To be honest, I don't see a lot of you guys using this student account fee any longer. The only situation I really see anyone use it for anymore, and I think most people have done away with this, is some studios might charge a little like monthly surcharge for doing recurring billing on a customer's credit card. Don't see that a lot anymore, though. I think most studios have figured out they're better off building that charge and that extra charge into their tuition and burying it in there. And honestly, that's what I would recommend. I think most people are like me, and when they see all the little ticky tack charges, they get annoyed with it. So I think you're better off just burying those charges into everyone's discount. I mean, into everyone's tuition. But you certainly have that option. All right. If you needed to update your recital participation, you can do this here. So you can remove or add all students from a recital. Also, on this screen, you can update the students' grades and the students' school, how many years they've been at the studio. What happens is when you click this button, it will update, it will timestamp it or date it for you, so that you don't accidentally do this too often. So this one obviously hasn't been done in a year. Going into, if we were a real studio going into the fall, it would be time for me to hit that and update that. Or you may wait till, I guess, the students have already gotten going. Same with the years at school. This just updates how long the student's been with your studio. Okay. This particular page, no save at the bottom, so you're good on it. You actually save these as you do them. Okay, class defaults. Again, all this is how you control the selections on the class screen. You can set a default tuition, so when you create a new class, whatever is in this field is automatically fills in for you. So right now, if I created a class, the tuition would automatically be $20. Your default length, so this school would have a default length of 45-minute classes. Your default maximum, 16. Now, when you're creating these classes, these numbers can obviously be changed, but this is, so you would want to put whatever's the most common here. That way, you're changing it the fewest amount of times. This would be your classroom list, so you'll have a drop down that you can select the classrooms from, and you would do that here. Really doesn't matter how you structure the classroom numbers or names. You can do letters, numbers, colors. Does not matter. It's up to you guys. Your default class sort option. So whatever you select here is how your class list is going to be sorted by default. Now you can change it. All you got to do is click the little header above the class list. Let me show you that real quick. So if you need to change the way this is sorted, all you got to do is click one of these little headers, and it will change the sort to whatever works for you. But if you have a preference that you want most of the time, you would use whatever you set the default to is what it'll be. So we'll go back, settings, classes. All right, and so you can set that default right here. So this one's defaulted to day name. So it'll put all my Mondays together, and then it'll sort their names alphabetically after the day. Your different class types. This is just a drop down on the class page. So whatever you want to show up in that drop down, you just put in right here. You can pretty much format these again however you want. The different levels. Some studios do levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some do advanced, intermediate, beginner. It's up to you. But this is where you control what shows up in that class level drop down menu. This page you do need to hit save at the bottom, so be aware of that. Tuition. I'm just going to kind of breeze through this real quick because we'll do this one in a future webinar. Whatever you select here is the default tuition calculation. So whatever is selected on this screen, when you create a new account, it will automatically go to that calculation. So if I left that as is, all my new accounts would be set up to charge by time student. In DanceWorks, you can set up your tuition to either charge by the class, which would be the whatever tuition amount you entered on your class page. You can do by the total number of classes. So using this table, meaning 10, if they're in 10 classes, they would be charged $204 a month. If they're in 5 classes, it'd be $129 a month. All this goes by is strictly the total number. You can also do time, meaning if they were to take 2 hours, their tuition would be $55 a month. 4 hours would be $100 a month. This strictly goes off the total amount of time of classes they're taking. It doesn't matter how many, just the total number of time, total amount of time. You can obviously do manual, where on their account you just type it into a field, and whatever you type there is what they get charged. The difference between student and account means if you have siblings, it adds their either number of classes or their amount of time together and treats them as one student. So if you went by time account and they had 2 students who were both taking, let's say, 2 hours each, that would be the exact same as one student taking 4 hours. So let's say we went with that situation. Let's say you got 2 sisters both taking 2 hours. That's a total of 4. Their tuition would be $100 a month. If you went by time student, they would be treated separate, and there would be 2 students taking 2 hours each. They would both be paying $55, and their total tuition would be $110 a month. So see the difference there? It ends up costing them 10 extra bucks. So again, we'll go over this more in depth, probably in 2 weeks. This one's rather hard to I can explain to you the way it works, but I don't think I've talked to a studio yet that does their tuition exactly the same as another studio. So these are usually better. If you have particular questions about your setup, give us a call. Or you can send us a ticket. If you send us a ticket, just kind of lay out the details so that it makes sense, and we can kind of try to answer that for you. But tuition is very, very, you guys all have a different way of doing it. Everybody has a unique way of doing it. We can usually figure it out with you if you'll just let us know. Group codes. This is one of the most underused things in DanceWorks, either the desktop or the online program. Group codes allow you to create a code, doesn't matter what it is, and group certain accounts or students together. That allows you to email just that group of people or run a report on just that group of people. So let's say you had a recital coming up and you got 25 parents who are volunteering for that recital. You can create a group code. You can attach it to their account. Let's say I have 5. I can just come here. Gives me my list of accounts. I'm going to remove it. I'm sorry. I'm going to assign, and I'm done. And now I can actually go email just those people. So if I go to send email and I go to select my recipients, I can email by groups. If I check this, I'm going to add them in. I'll return to the message, and those people all automatically get loaded in. So I can just email those volunteers or the company, the competition team or whatever it is. It's a really easy way of doing it. We just added that in where you can actually assign them from that screen off that list recently, probably within the last 3 months. Makes it so much more easy now. You can also remove them from there, as you saw. Great way of grouping people together. Makes it easy to keep in communication with just those people. You can run reports. So if you needed a list of your volunteers, you can go run a report from the account reports page and print off all of your volunteer parents and their phone numbers. Really easy way of doing it. Completely underused. All right, charge codes. These are just going to be your list of charges that show up when you actually enter a charge on an account. So if you want to add one in, you're just going to go to add. You need to type in a general ledger number for those of you that use QuickBooks. This is really important. Whatever the general ledger number is here, you need to have a corresponding general ledger number in QuickBooks. Doesn't matter what the number is, you can just make them up. You just got to have them the same as in QuickBooks. So I'm just going to type one in, test charge. You can type in an amount. You can leave it as 0 if you want, if it's something that might vary from charge to charge. Choose a type: registration, tuition, late fee, costume, miscellaneous. Choose whether it's going to have sales tax and whether you want it to be able to be paid online. If any of you are from Canada and use tax credits, you will just try, if it applies to the tax credit, make sure you check that box and then just hit add. Then when you go to an account, you want to enter one of those charges. Enter charge. And you can just select it from this drop down menu of charge codes. There it is. It's really easy. This account apparently has some sort, this account has a discount, which is why you see the amount as being less right here in the total. Let me go back. If you guys have sales tax in your area, you can do two different types. You can do sales tax 1 and 2. So if you have a state and local, that's an easy way of doing it. If you noticed when I added that charge code in, when you choose the type of sales tax, you're going to choose 1 or 2 or both, whichever applies to what you're doing. So just be aware of that. So all you got to do is put in your percentage here, and you can put in a description. Also need a general ledger number there. The accounting link is what you're going to use for QuickBooks. There's a couple of these general ledger numbers also need to match what's in QuickBooks, so you can either change it on the QuickBooks side or on our side. They just need to match, and make sure you hit save. It's pretty easy. Credit card setup. For those of you who are using PowerPay to process credit cards, that is the only merchant services company you can use directly through DanceWorks. When you set up an account, I was just speaking with a customer about this just a little bit, probably an hour ago. They should be providing you a username, a password, and a merchant number. They should also probably tell you about this maximum charge amount. Lately, they haven't been, so be aware of that. So if you're setting up your credit card processing for the first time, make sure you put in this maximum charge amount. It doesn't really matter what it is. Whatever you put in there is fine. It just needs to be large enough that it's going to cover whatever you think the largest charge you might have to charge someone's credit card is. Really, its purpose is to keep you from accidentally hitting too many zeros and charging someone $28,000 on their credit card when you meant to charge them $280. I've actually know someone that had that happen to them, and that's all this is here to prevent. So if you don't think you're ever going to charge anybody more than $5,000, then that's perfect. You can put whatever you want to there. You can also enter your return policy here. Once you put in these settings, hit save. You should be good to go. The easiest way to check and make sure your credit card processing is set up correctly, once you put your stuff in, go to an account, try to save a credit card. If it'll save it, then you're good to go. Users and passwords. This is a biggie. I lied earlier. This is the most underused thing in DanceWorks, either version. Please, please, please do not let everyone in your studio share the same user ID and password. I see it too many times. I've talked to too many studios that have had customers stolen, money stolen, charges deleted, payments deleted, and they can't track it because they don't know who did it, and there would never ever be a way to find out because they all use the same user ID. Please create one for every one of your employees. In the next month or two, we're actually going to update DanceWorks, and you will be able to see who deleted anything. If they delete a payment, an account, a session, you'll know who did it. That ain't going to work if everybody has the same username. If everybody's logging in as admin, then it's just going to say admin deleted so-and-so's $2,000 cash payment, and there's not going to be anything you can do about it. So make sure that you do one for everyone and only give them access to what they need for their job function. The username can be whatever you want it to be, as complicated, as simple as you want it to be. They need an email address. You cannot use the same email address for different users. Doesn't even have to be tied to an email address that they're trying to email from DanceWorks. It's just something that they use to log in. A display name, which is just what shows up at the bottom of the screen, and on the account details, or like on a payment details, and their password. We updated these a few months back. Passwords are now case sensitive. So however you type it in here is how it's going to need to be typed in when you're trying to log in. You can make the person an administrator if you absolutely need to. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it. I would say give them only, as I said earlier, give them only what they need to do their job. Good grief. Give me just a second, guys. There we go. Sorry about that. So if we look at, I'm just going to add a new one. You can, anything that's checked off down here, they have access to. So if they don't need, the 15-year-old that's volunteering or that dances for you and is working the front desk, they don't need access to your financial reports. They don't need to know how much money you're bringing in. Please don't do that. We've talked to many studios who've had teachers leave. They print out all the financial reports. They start calling all these students and parents and trying to poach them away. And it works, believe it or not. So only give them access to what they need for their job. That's my soapbox, and I'm going to get off of it now. All right, so I'm going to jump ahead to customer access settings, but I am just going to kind of gloss over these, and then I'm going to take some questions after I do the policies too. So here you have your general settings, your create account settings, and your existing account settings. On this general settings page, you have all the links you need for the parent access. You have ways to control the way those links are worded on the login page. You have a way to send an activation email to all of your parents. You can control the way classes are displayed once they have filled up at registration, as well as class conflicts, any kind of studio message, and then also your registration confirmation text. We're going to go through all that in detail next week. These would be how you control what you want from brand new accounts, what information you want to require, not require, want to make optional, don't want them to know even exists. Existing accounts, this is where you control what they can do, what they can change, what they can see. Again, we'll go through all of that in detail next week. Finally, last thing I'm going to go over, and I'll probably go over it again next week as well, policies. All of you guys have studio policies, I'm sure. And when parents go online, we always get the question, well, what about the policies? How do they sign these? Whatever you have typed here. So if you have your policies in a Word doc, just copy and paste them right into these 4 fields. These fields are almost unlimited in characters that they'll hold, so you can get a lot of information into them. The little box is just a header. The large box is where you're going to put the actual policies. Now, I realize most of you probably have more than 4, so you may have to kind of condense them. So if you put multiples into one field, try to make the header, try to put the ones that make sense together, and maybe make the header cover them both. When a parent activates their account, first thing they're met with is this policies page. They have to agree to it, or they can't proceed. They won't be able to get to anything without agreeing to that policies page. This bottom field, agree to policy text. We've all done something online or with a program or something where you have to check a box and say, and next to it, it says, I agree to the above, yada, yada, yada. You've all seen that. That's what this is. You can word that however you want. So you can say, I agree to the policies of Maggie's studio or what have you. You can word that however you want, but you need to have something there. I've talked to quite a few of you that have nothing there. It's blank. There's just a box on the screen and the parent has no idea they need to check it. So make sure you put something there. And then once you're done, hit save. Now, they only have to agree to the policy one time. So we get asked, well, what if we change it? When you go to change the policies, when you hit save, you're met with this. So you have two options as far as updating the policies. Let's say someone pointed out a typo and you just want to fix the typo. All you gotta do is hit update. That's not going to require everybody to sign it again next time they log in. Let's say you add a new policy or you change one significantly and you need everybody to sign off on it again. Hit update and require agreement. Next time that person logs into their parent account, they're going to have to sign the agreement again. Once they sign it, they won't have to do that again until you hit this button again. So it makes it really easy. Okay, I am actually done. I went a little bit longer than I had intended, so we may drag this on a little bit past 3 o'clock. So, as I said earlier, if you guys have questions, you should be able to use the chat box there and just shoot me your question. I will read it out loud and answer it to the best of my ability for everyone. Okay, first question I have. This particular person has never sent an activation email, wants to know what that is. We put this in not too long ago, probably 3 or 4 months ago. We started having a problem where people were coming from other studio or from another software, and they didn't have an easy way to get the information out to their parents so that they could activate their account. This is the easiest way to do it. So if you're brand new with DanceWorks Online, whether you're brand new with Akeda and DanceWorks or you've switched over from the desktop, if you come here to your customer access settings, you can send this activation email either to your active people, your inactives, or your prospects. When you send that, what happens is it sends an email to all of the people in your database that have an email address. And what it does is it sends them an individualized link. It's custom to just that person. When they click that link, it opens a window, and all they have to do to activate their account is create their own password, and then just retype it in to verify it. And as soon as they do that and hit submit, their account is activated. They'll get their policies page that I just talked about, agree to that, and then they are good to go. That is the easiest and probably the most successful way to get your parents to activate their account. It's so much easier than saying, hey, go to our website and do this, or sending out an email even with a link to the login page. You're going to have a lot more success and a higher percentage of people doing it by doing this. It makes it so easy. I can't remember exactly who suggested it to us, but it was a great suggestion. They suggested it. We had it in, I think, in about a week, and it makes it really easy for your parents to activate their account. Next question is, can you charge tuition for a single student using a mix of the time and class calculation, meaning mix the amount of time and the number of classes? Unfortunately, no, not using one of those tables to where it automatically adds it up for you. Not sure exactly how your particular studio is set up. If you want to give us a call and talk about it next week, we'll be happy to do that with you. But I'm just going to say, based off reading that, your best bet may either be manual or by the specific class. But call us and we'll talk about it in more detail, and we'll figure something out for you. The next question is about deleting charge codes. This is actually something we're working on. Currently, if a charge code is actually in use, meaning it's ever been charged to any account in your database, whether that charge was deleted or not. You can't delete that charge code. That's something we're actually working on resolving, to make it where you can essentially retire a charge code or at least hide it from that list. Not exactly sure how that's going to work out, but we should have that in probably within the next month or two, and that should make that much easier. The next question, this is a good question. I'm glad you asked this. Since each staff, when you create their username, has to have their own email, it has to have an email address assigned to them. Can they each send emails from that email address that they use to log in? It's kind of a yes and no question. Let me go back. So they certainly can, provided that that email shares these same settings. Let me go back to your email setup. So a lot of you may know, some of you may not, that with like Gmail, you can link different email accounts together where you have a master email account and then email accounts that are attached to it, and they all use the same settings. If that's the situation, then absolutely, they could email from there. They could, like if it's a teacher, she could email her class from her own email address. Same if you have if your emails are set up like Christy at maggiesdance.com or info at maggiesdance.com. They could have a master where they can email, like the whole studio would come from the info at, or if they just want to email their class, they could use their own email address. Again, it all boils down to how the settings are set up. You cannot do it if one person's at Yahoo and the other's at Gmail and the third's at Hotmail. That's not going to work. But if they all share these same settings, absolutely. The next question, this goes back to the activating accounts, that activate account email. If they already have one, will they get the email? Let's look at that again. I believe there was a box there you can check. Actually, yeah, they would. I'm sorry, the box doesn't do away with that. It just says this allows you to send email resets. So actually, if you checked that, it would give them the reset. It would give them the option to reset their email or their password. But yeah, it actually would resend it to those people. Again, this is more of a tool. This isn't something you're going to want to use every year. This is more of a tool that you would want to use when you're first setting up DanceWorks and you're first getting going, getting people online. If you want to send an individual person an account activation email, you can do that from their actual account page. So if they're new, so once you've done that first big one and people have signed up, if you want to send, someone else enrolls and you want to send them that email, you can do it from right here, and it just sends that one person theirs. Next question, this may be coming from a desktop user. How similar would I say DanceWorks desktop version is to the online version? I would say when it comes to your day-to-day stuff, probably 80 to 90% similar or the same. Entering the way the tuition is set up, the way entering charges and payments works going to be the same. The way creating an account and a student works is going to be pretty much the same, other than looking a little bit different. The biggest difference is going to be when it comes to the sessions. For you guys who all had the desktop program, you'll remember that the sessions in the desktop version of DanceWorks were all completely independent. So once you created a new session, you may have made a copy of a previous one, but once it's there, the two sessions have nothing to do with each other. In DanceWorks Online, you have one master list of these accounts and students and the transactions on an account. So there's really only one account, and all of the sessions share this one account. So really the easiest way to understand that is when you create a new session in the online program, you're not doing a whole lot more than creating a new class list. There's a couple of other little things that go along with it, but that's the easiest way to understand it. That is the biggest difference. That and then the parent portal that the online program has that the desktop does not. Other than that, most things are pretty much the same. The next question is about printing out a blank attendance sheet. They asked in the desktop you could print out a blank attendance sheet, and then just go in and have the teacher hand fill it in. Yes, absolutely, you can do that here in the online program. You're just going to go to reporting. You're going to go to class reports. Actually, I lied. You're going to go to attendance. And it works the exact same way as the desktop. You have your 10, 17, 6, and 1 column. You can print it out for all the classes, for selected classes, for a specific teacher. Works the same way. It'll print out a blank one. For those of you that don't know, the columns basically are the number of meetings or days. So 10 column would be the next 10 class meetings following this date. And so you can just print it out here. If you want the teacher to fill it in, they can do it that way, and then you can come back and re-enter it. Next question, will there be a webinar about starting a new session and getting info over into the new session? Not entirely sure yet. I think there probably will be a webinar on creating new sessions. But if this is something that if it's something that's important to you, give us a call next week and we'll talk you through it. It's not terribly complicated. The other part of that question is would the parents have to register again? That kind of depends on how your studio works. Some studios just kind of carry over the enrollment to the next year and they change the class. So that if someone's in like an intermediate level class, they just carry the enrollment over and then just start calling it an advanced class. So it kind of depends on your situation. Most studios that I talk to, though, yeah, they start all over with new enrollments or new registrations every year. So that is up to you guys. The same person actually made a nice comment saying how easy the switch from the desktop to the online program was. We appreciate that, Debbie. If you don't mind posting that on our Facebook page, we'd absolutely love that. Thank you. Tony, give us a call about this question. I don't really know what you mean by divide the charges by session. So give us a call next week and let's talk about that. Next, give me just a second, guys. Let me read this question. Make sure I'm trying to understand it. Okay. Sorry, I just had to kind of read that one a little bit more closely. The question was, do all the recital reports as far as the lineups and picture schedules and everything else that goes along with the with recitals, do those reports exist in DanceWorks Online? Absolutely. DanceWorks Online has all the same reports as the desktop version. In fact, it may have a handful more. To get to your recital reports, you're going to go to Performances. And this is laid out a little bit differently than the desktop. You would go to Manage Recitals. And then once you have a recital actually created, your recital reports would be right here. So yeah, you can do all those same things. All right, guys. Looks like we ran a little bit long. It's 3:04, so not too bad. It looks like the questions have wound down. I can't say enough or say again how much we appreciate everybody coming out. As I said earlier, we had more than twice the number of people register for this webinar than we did any of the ones we did last summer, and that's really exciting. I hope you guys got a good bit out of this because, like I said, a lot of your names I don't recognize, which tells me you're fairly new. So we look forward to talking to you. I may have raised more questions than I answered. Occasionally that happens. If you have more questions and you want to send us a ticket or call us next week, feel free to. We'll be happy to answer them. If you want to send us a ticket, just come right here to help and hit submit support ticket. All you have to do is fill out your information, display name, email, what have you, and then the message. The only thing we ask with these tickets, be as specific as you possibly can. That helps us answer you more quickly and not have to go back and forth asking you a bunch of questions. So if it's if there's a problem with DanceWorks, like one of those error pages that you saw, tell us exactly where it was, exactly what button you hit that when it came up. If you have a question about an account or a payment or something, always include the payment, the amount, the day, the account it was on. The more detailed you can make your tickets, the easier it is for us to answer them for you, and the less back and forth we have to do. That is the downfall of the ticketing system. Is if you just send us a ticket that says I'm having a huge problem, that that doesn't really help us, and it doesn't help us help you. So to cut down on the time, just be as specific as you can, or just give us a call. We'll be happy to help you out next week. And we appreciate you guys being here. Thank you.